Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, colleague, relative, associate, enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Thank you for all the people that have watched the weekend wrap. It seems to have been my most successful one thus far. Well, it's in the top 2 at least, 100%. Now, I just want to say, for anyone, no, there's no ghosts in the room. There's no duppies around. I did get a comment on the video. There's like a lot of almost looking like spirit bubbles that are coming across the screen. It's literally like little tiny specks of dust that are being amplified by the light on my camera, and yeah, so I can't actually get rid of them, but I did actually notice them when I was doing my test run for this video. So salute to those, and yeah, don't worry if it does annoy you. Apologies. Maybe in the next one, if I can try and get another backlight, I'll turn off the front camera on this, and then hopefully that won't happen, because it hasn't been in several other videos. But I think it's just the reflection of that plus the different type of light bulbs that I've got in this room. Anyway, that being said, I wasn't going to do a video. It's going to be a very short one, but I just want to give a couple flowers and a couple commiserations over, you know, sort of the last 4 days that we've had. So without further ado, let's get into it. So earlier on today, the monster Naoya Inoue knocked out Marlon Tapales in the 10th round of what was a very competitive, very spirited fight. Now, I predicted that he'd actually win in the 11th, so I feel pretty vindicated on that. I was 1 round short, but I knew it would go late. Marlon Tapales is a very tough guy, very tough competitor, very stocky, short, stout kind of guy, and he's been down before and manages to survive. So I knew that he's got a warrior spirit. I said to people a while ago, from even the Stephen Fulton fight, that Marlon Tapales stylistically is actually a much tougher matchup for Naoya Inoue, and is even possibly a person that would have a better chance of beating Naoya Inoue. I never predicted he'd win. I just want to make that clear. Not once did I ever think he could beat him, but stylistically I always felt he would be a tougher fight, and I feel like we saw that here. Just obviously the southpaw thing is one thing, but being sort of low, stocky, stout, also being a person that goes to the body, goes for that stab, these are all things that, even though Inoue will allow Inoue to have success, it will also mean that he'll get tagged, he'll get touched, and he will get caught. And it's all about, can he take what's coming his way? Clearly he can. I mean, he took it from Nonito Donaire. Shout out to Nonito. I spoke to him the other day. Good guy. I'm still trying to get him to come on the breakdown. I've been told we can get that sorted out for the new year. We didn't get it done for last time, but we'll get that sorted. But yeah, he took huge punishment from Nonito in their first fight. Left hooks galore, fractured eye socket, orbital bone, battled through, really nasty cut over the eye. I think he even busted up his nose as well, might have broke his nose. And so we know that he could take punishment, and his team would, they would not pull him out. They're the kind of people, you can tell. There's a lot of people that are very honorary. So you have like Samoans are one. I always talk about Samoan people, like Japanese people. It's always very much honor before anything. So for you, it's very much against the samurai code and I guess the warriors code to quit in battle. Like, you must allow your opponent I guess the respect to take you out within conflict. And you'll see many times if like a samurai runs away in battle or something, they do things like they would then kill themselves, stabbing themselves through the chest through like embarrassment and disrespect, because they respect the code that much. If they don't allow their opponent to take their life, then they must take their life themselves, to maintain dignity as such. So yeah, you can always tell that the only way Tapales wins this fight realistically was gonna be to take him out, and ultimately, even though he hits hard enough, but the problem is he doesn't hit hard enough to be in a position whereby he would still keep himself comfortable fighting Inoue. So what that means is he's got to be he's got to be right in center, and he's got to be able to plant his feet. There was never a time where I felt like he was fully planting his feet to throw one of his shots, because he was, you know, cautious that something could come back which he doesn't like. He felt those punches a little bit earlier on in the fight, and but also what he was kind of, the one thing I think he did not wrong, but the one thing I feel like he maybe needed to work on, like he has a very sort of wide stance, but it's very sort of squatty. He dips down to make himself a harder target. He does level changes, but then by being so wide and having such a crouch, it means that, yeah, you can explode up into shots, but it also means that you can't really get out of the way of other shots, especially if you're fighting an orthodox opponent. If you're fighting a southpaw, you can get away with it a bit more, but it's a lot harder to move your feet from that wide stance when you're already like hunkered down. So for most of the time he was using his upper body lateral movement to try and avoid shots, and he was taking quite a lot on the arms and the gloves as well, but slowly, systematically, he was getting broken down. And Inoue tried those power shots from early just to test what kind of resolve he had, and I guess he knew that I can't really fence with him. Let me just, you know, work that power in from early so he's wary of it, and then once he gets wary of it, I can start sort of taking it to him. Now, credit to Tapales, because he did win some of the rounds, especially I actually had him winning the round that he got knocked down in, which was the fourth, until he got knocked down. Then I had to give it to Inoue, but I had him winning that one, and I had him winning the fifth, and then I think the last round I had him winning was the seventh. So he, you know, he made a good account of himself, but ultimately Inoue just showed that he's levels above. And I put out on Twitter that he, I think, has probably cemented his status as the #1 fighter of the year this year, but there's still a wider conversation about whether he's #1 pound for pound or not. Now, there's a lot of criteria and metrics that you could have him gaining that, but there's also some where you might say there's still room there for Terence Crawford to have it. But that being said, I haven't made my mind up totally yet, but those year-end awards will start coming out from, I believe Thursday is going to be the first one, or the first couple. I'm not going to do as many as I've done last year, but there will be several categories, and expect Inoue to be pretty high on a couple of those awards. Crawford as well. And when it comes to my fighter of the year, all I will say is I think a lot of people are going to be shocked by my list, and more specifically some of the people that aren't in it. And I'm not just doing that for clickbait or controversial sake. It's genuinely how I feel. But that being said, big up to Naoya Inoue. In 12 months and 2 weeks, he has done a double undisputed run. You know, within 3 fights, he went undisputed at bantamweight and then undisputed at super bantamweight. 2 fights later, no tune-ups, no gimme fights, no acclamation fights to the weight. I mean, that's impressive, and it just goes to show that he deserves to be where he is on most people's lists. Congratulations to him, but also big credit to Marlon Tapales. He didn't come to lay down. It wasn't a Paul Butler. He didn't come there for the check just to say he was going to go 12 rounds. He actually came to win. And there's a couple times he caught Inoue with some shots that make you say you don't want to be having too many of those kind of fights in your career. So overall, congrats to both guys. It was a brilliant Boxing Day treat, and I'm glad that we got it. Now let's move on to the next topic. So coming off the back of the Day of Reckoning card, and also my weekend wrap, where we've spoken a little bit about like Deontay Wilder and almost where he goes from here, and you know, Joseph Parker essentially, for lack of a better word, exposing a facade that has been around in the public. Now look, a lot of people initially would have said you know, Wilder is like the most dangerous heavyweight and XYZ. Then that narrative, once he got beat by Tyson Fury in the second fight, and even to an extent in the first one, the narrative was, well, we know what Wilder is. He's, you know, he might be limited and he might just have the one trick, but the one trick's gonna get you sooner or later. But ultimately, as I said before the video, I made it clear why I was picking Joseph Parker to win that fight. Not just because overall Parker is a better boxer than Deontay Wilder is, but like Joseph Parker, number one, he's been in there with much better opposition than Deontay Wilder has ever faced, or been in there with minus Tyson Fury. But outside of that, the one time that someone was able to knock him out and, you know, take him out of a fight, they had to consistently beat him up and beat him down throughout 10 hard rounds before stopping him in the 11th. And even in the 11th round, he got up on the 10 count. It's just that in the UK, and I think most commissions, once you go past 8 and you're not ready to, you're on your feet ready to continue by the 9th, like, they will waive it off. But, you know, he got up and he was ready to go. He still kind of complained to the ref, like, I'm okay, like, let me go. He was done, but he got up. And that's my point. I was like, well, if he gets caught with one of these right hands, who's to say he can't get up from that? Because it's not that Wilder's going to be beating him up prior to the right hand. And ultimately we saw that. So there was actually a couple of occasions where he landed the right hand. One landed, it looked like it landed flush, and it maybe staggered Parker slightly, but he shook it off pretty quick. And then the other 2 times it landed on gloves. And then every other time Parker was able to slip it, ride and roll, get on the chest, and then even beat Deontay Wilder to the punch on the inside. So it obviously then shows you, well, look, when you then step up the level of opposition or go to people that are not just C level or maybe B minus level opposition, or extremely old with no reflexes or no agility or no youthfulness, that right hand becomes a lot harder to land. But when it does land, who can take it and who can't? Now, this also now shows up a little bit of how we look at Tyson Fury, because a lot of Tyson Fury's resume has been on the back of the Klitschko win, which was an amazing win, although Klitschko did say he was unmotivated for that one and he really wanted that rematch, which he never got. And then the 3 Deontay Wilder fights, because Deontay is supposedly the most avoided, the most dangerous heavyweight. He was the number 2 in the division. So when you look at all of that, you say, okay, well, that means that now when you look at it, you say, well, Joseph Parker isn't quote unquote on the level of a Tyson Fury or an Anthony Joshua or an Usyk, or before Saturday a Wilder. You would say he's very much in the 2nd or the 3rd tier of heavyweights. But he managed to take the right hand and miss the right hand on several occasions. Tyson Fury got hit by the right hand 4 different times and went down as a result. So then you say, okay, then you look at the whole AJ thing with Otto Wallin. Now, you can play both, you can do swings and roundabouts on this, because, okay, you say Tyson Fury went life and death with Otto Wallin and AJ like dispatched of him comfortably within 5 rounds. But then you could also say that, you know, Tyson Fury dispatched of Dillian White quicker than AJ did and didn't suffer and didn't have to come through a crisis to do it. He dispatched of Klitschko better than AJ did in terms of not having to come through a crisis. But then AJ got a definitive victory that was exciting. So you have those sort of narratives there. But the difference being, when you look down, obviously, Tyson Fury's resume, you see there's numerous times where he's had to fight someone 2 or 3 times to get conclusive victories. Deontay Wilder as well, because he had the Luis Ortiz first fight, which he won by KO. But then he said he needed unfinished business because he didn't clean it up the way that he should have in the first one. So he went back and done it again. A guy that now is another 1.5 years older than he was before, and he was already old in the first fight. He had Tyson Fury. He needed 2 goals to have a conclusive victory over John McDermott. He beat, Derek Chisora fairly comfortably in the first fight, but it was very spirited, so we had to rematch him to clean up the work in the second. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, that whole thing there. The first fight, well, Tyson Fury goes, he's basically wins virtually every round, but goes and gets himself dropped twice and gets robbed of a win to a draw, but ends up essentially going life and death with Deontay Wilder. Has to run it back second time to clean up the work. Then in the third fight, when you think the work should have been cleaned up, even it then ends up going life and death with Deontay Wilder again. A Wilder that's probably worse at this point than he was before, because he got rid of the only boxing guy, the real boxing guy in his corner that wasn't going to give him quarter, which was Mark Breland, to bring in Malik Scott, who obviously is godfather to some of his children, that one of his best friends. How much respect is really garnered in that relationship as trainer and professional? Don't know. But then you go life and death in that one. Then this third Chisora fight, another fight which obviously you win fairly comfortably, but it takes you 10 rounds to stop him, when realistically you probably should have taken him out in 3 or 4 at that stage of Derek Chisora's career. Then you look at the Francis Ngannou thing, just this really sort of poor lackluster performance where you just about scraped through and won the decision by 1 point in a 10-round fight against a guy who's only just started boxing. So then when you look at now the two of their careers intertwined, they even said at one point, we don't this is the number 1 and 2, forget Joshua, forget those others, this is where the division is at. But it's the two of them used each other to try and trick the masses into believing they were the best of this generation or this era. But as soon as you stop spreading out and putting them against the other top guys, not just the guys that might have a divisional ranking, but the top guys in the division, or even maybe an unknown quantity, someone again Francis Ngannou, you start to see the cracks appear. For Deontay Wilder, it's a lot more pronounced, because he's now shown that against legit top level opponents, that right hand trick that he thinks he has, it's not a guaranteed get out of jail card. He currently now is sitting on a 33% knockout ratio of top 10 opponents, which is Luis Ortiz twice. He's had 6 fights against top 10 opponents and he's only knocked out 2. He's only won 3 of the 6. 2 via knockout, 1 by decision. So when you look at that, you say to yourself, now the mask has slipped, the facade is gone, where does he really go? That's kind of how you have to look at it. Now, personally, I think he's going to probably do an Ngannou fight to finish his career. And he might be able to get the knockout there. But I actually would pick Ngannou to beat him. Fundamentally, he's a bit more sound. Ngannou's a very athletic guy as well. Plus, he's got the same type of reach as Deontay Wilder. So you're not just going to be able to launch that right hand from the outside. He'll be able to frame and get out of the way. Plus, if you're not giving sustained pressure and attack, I don't think you're going to necessarily wear him out that way, and you might end up tiring yourself out sticking around, wandering around the ring, because you're worried about what's coming back, because you know that he's got a legit punch as well. And we've seen that you don't necessarily take the best punch even from non-punchers. And looking as skinny as he looked over the weekend, I don't think he could really hold up to proper to proper shots. I mean, Joseph Parker, to be fair, he ate a very flush overhand right from Joseph Parker, but everything after that was panic mode. But that one right staggered him, and if Parker didn't rush and bulldoze his way in, there's every chance that he could have actually landed some really, really hard work. And Wilder was lucky because obviously he was taller and he was able to sort of try to lean over the top of him to stop that work as well. So you go in there with a guy that's taller than him with a bigger reach, there's problems there. But again, you look at that and then you go on the other side, you say, well, he was Fury's best wins, or in what puts the best wins on Fury's category, and you say now his thing is looking even more shaky than before. The only grace you can kind of give to Fury is at least he still managed to win the fights. Even if he won them poorly, he still won them. But then, you know, when you say, well, Otto Wallin was one of his better wins on his resume, and he went life and death with him, and then the way he was dispatched by someone who is not even supposed to be viewed as on his level, who's viewed as the third best heavyweight in the world at best. And then, yeah, so look, it's not looking good for either of those two right now. So Tyson Fury basically is in a bid to save his reputation against Alexander Usyk in February, if the fight even happens. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. I've tried to be balanced in this one. I don't want to just, you know, shit over both of their legacies. They've, as I said on the weekend wrap, Deontay Wilder, serial overachiever, and I congratulate him for even being able to do that. Whether he was matched carefully and all that other stuff, like he's an overachiever, because he shouldn't even have been in a position to get to where he got to. But, you know, I'm always going to be sour on Wilder because he, you know, he stopped and blocked Undisputed in the heavyweight division for almost 10 years, from 2015 up till now. You know, he stopped Vladimir Klitschko being able to unify with Berman Stavern. Then when he got the belt of Stavern, he stopped Vladimir Klitschko being unified with him, via Shelley Finkel. Then the AJ stuff, I've told you about all of that already. Like, there's, you know, that's there in black and white if you want to go back and research. AJ supposedly turned down one email 50 million offer, but there was 5 legitimate offers that Deontay and his team turned down. So block that, only to then try and go a different route and lose the belt to Fury, and then have Fury messing about with it because you could have sorted that out and then allowed Fury to now block it up until this point. So yeah, you are the reason that there hasn't been an undisputed champion since 1999, and I will always have to critique and put extra critique on you for that. But that being said, that's kind of my thoughts on the two of them. Let me know what you think. Reviews will start, all the award shows will start on a Thursday, and also October Red's going to be doing a year in review New Year's Eve, so I will be on that. I will send you guys the link as soon as I get it. I'll put it in the community. Make sure you guys tune in. Obviously, if you're on my channel, you must be on October Red's channel as well. Amazing content, amazing work. Privileged to have been invited onto that, so look forward to that as well. And yeah, let's look forward to getting some of these awards out for the year. It's going to be less than last year, but it's going to be good. I hope that the content's going to be better than last year's content. With that being said, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. That's the Hardcore Casual out.